Hey everyone, welcome back to another Stacking Philosophies video, episode number 2. And this philosophy here, it really just kind of boils down to that notion of dollar bills are no longer being taken in exchange for goods or services. And that may sound pretty far-fetched today as we sit here in June 2020. It's definitely far-fetched, but if you want to be objective, the way that the United States Central Bank, the Federal Reserve, is currently operating, they're pretty much printing money like it's going out of style. When I say printing, they're essentially hitting some buttons on on a computer and creating money out of nothing. So that can really only go on for so long before the rest of the world says, you know what, we're not going to accept these dollars anymore just because there's too many of them and they're not worth anything. And that may be a different video for a different day, but if the way things are going, it's definitely a possibility. Is it likely at this point? No, but it's getting more likely by the day. And if that's the case, if dollars are no longer being accepted, we've got to have something to transact in. And this kind of goes back to why gold and silver were money for so long. Basically, for something to be money, it has to have intrinsic value. It's got to be able to do something. So gold and silver have various uses outside of just being money. They're used in making jewelry, for example. They're used in electronics. They're used in just mirrors. In a lot of things. I want to say silver in itself is second only to oil as far as being the number of uses that it has as a commodity. It's got to be fungible. It's got to be small enough to transport, and it's got to hold its value over time. And that's essentially what gold and silver do. They hold their value. They're not really as an investment. They're just basically a hedge against those things. But it gets back to the point where they can still be used as money. If I've got a barrel of oil, it's hard for me to actually give that to somebody else in exchange for cutting my lawn or cutting my hair or washing my car or selling me groceries, things like that. So for all these years, that's what gold and silver was used primarily. And up until 1964, silver was still in the United States coinage. 90% silver were dimes, quarters, half dollars, and dollars. And today, this type of silver is known as, unaffectionately known as quote-unquote junk silver. I don't look at it as junk. I look at it as very, very special and very important. And if you are going to have a silver stack, I would highly recommend that you have some junk or constitutional, as I like to call it, silver. And these are going to be very recognizable. If you can kind of see, these are, pre-64 Roosevelt dimes. I've also got some Mercury dimes, but those carry a little bit more of a premium, so most of my dimes are Franklin Roosevelt dimes. Pretty much look like the dimes do today. The only difference is that they are primarily silver and not copper. Quarters, kind of the same thing. Again, in addition to these Washington quarters, there are standing Liberty quarters that you can get, which, just kind of lost my dimes there. Do carry a little bit of a premium as well. But, for the most part, these Washington quarters are, what's going to be out there for the most part, as I kind of clean up my act here with these dimes. But the half dollars, which I really like, for the most part, there was only 1 year that they made 1964 half dollars. So Kennedy was assassinated, of course, in 1963. The following year, they came out with half dollars, replacing essentially the Benjamin Franklin half dollars, which I do have some of those as well. But again, primarily, I have Kennedy's for these stacking purposes. But and actually, Kennedy was not a big fan of the taking silver out of the money. I don't believe he was in favor of that. I'm not going to say that's the reason, why what happened to him happened, but it is a fact, and it is worthy of note. And then the last part of this is just the old silver dollars. I've got some peace dollars here, which is what you're seeing on top here. I do have some Morgan silver dollars in here as well. But these, this is a tube of 20 silver dollars, and then everything else is pretty much the rolls as you would see today. So we got a $10 roll of half dollars face value. When I say $10, that's the face value of this. $5 in dimes in a roll, and $10 in quarters in a roll. And essentially, as I said, it was 90% silver in all these. So to get a 1 troy ounce of silver, you essentially need $1.40 face value. So here I got 20, 30, 40, 45 face value dollars, and so I would just basically divide that by 1.4, and that would give me the number of troy ounces that I have here. So if we ever were in a really bad spot, this is something that would be recognized by people. Everybody knows what dimes are, and everybody knows what quarters are, things like that. But I don't know. I would venture to say that maybe 10% of the population out there knows that prior to 1965 that all the money was in silver, and that maybe even it's not silver today. I really don't know what people think. I know I didn't know. I actually would receive some coins from a cousin, and things got tight with me and my wife, and we actually went and this is actually before I started stacking silver, and I was surprised how much money we got. I think at the time was back near 2011, 2012, when silver was much higher than it is today, and we got a few $100s for what I didn't consider to be a whole lot of money, and I was actually surprised by that. But if the dollar ever did get into a situation where it wasn't being widely accepted, I think the news would get out pretty quickly that U.S. currency or U.S. coinage minted prior to 1964 did have a good bit of precious metals in it, and this is something that I can see. Dimes being what $10 bills are today, and half dollars being kind of looked at as what $50 bills are today. And this is, if you have a significant or even a moderate stack of these types of coins, it could get you over the hump maybe until a new form of money did come in that was worth something. Or if you ever just didn't need to trade it in for cash, just kind of as a savings, that's something that can be looked at too. Bottom line, it's basically an emergency type of reserve. It's an emergency type of savings. It's $45, so I could literally take this and probably get me and my wife a meal at Chili's, with appetizer meals and desserts, would run us about $45-$50, and I could take this up to the cashier and give them all these coins, and they would accept it, and I could pay for that one meal. But when you look at if you went online and tried to buy $45-$50 worth of silver, you're probably going to be shelling out a few $100s for this. I can tell you just right now, the premium on the silver dollars, I'm not going to try to speculate on because those are going to be different. But a tube of 20 Kennedy half dollars is going to be approximately $175. It's going to be about $70, $75 maybe even for a roll of dimes, and then about $165, $170 for a roll of quarters as of June 2020, with spot prices being what they are. So you can see even right here there's several $100s worth of silver, but if I went and just used the face value of it, it wouldn't get me much or anything close to that. So I look at this as a savings. I look at this as something that hopefully I will never have to use, and if I never do have to use it, I can maybe pass it down to members of my family that may get similar types of value out of it someday. But I really do believe that if you are going to stack silver and stack nothing else, you just want to have one type of thing you're going to have, I would recommend that constitutional silver be high on that list, for all the reasons that I stated. It's something that could be barterable. It's something that is going to always be recognizable, at least as we sit here today. I can't, even 50, 100 years in the future, people are going to know what these things are, and they're going to know what they're made of and what they're worth. And there's all those factors. There's a fairly low premium. I mean, the premiums are definitely higher today than they were, but a year ago, you probably could have got this type of silver for a few $1 to a few cents, maybe between 50 cents to $1 over spot, which is fairly low. It's almost just buying the silver content in and of itself. But it's still, you're gonna have lower premiums on this today than you are gonna say like American silver eagles or Canadian maples or even generic bullion. It's typically going to be in that neighborhood or even less. So for all those reasons, if you're just going to stick to one type of silver, you really don't want to go too crazy with premiums and having all different kinds of different coins and bars and things like that. A big recommendation from me would be to stick to this type of avenue. So any questions, again, as always, feel free to drop me a line in the comment video. Hope you enjoyed this. Got some information out of it as always. And until next time, we will talk to you later. Peace out.